Hey, this is Joe from SoFly, and in this video, we are going to import customers into WooCommerce using WP Alt Import. So the first step is to go over here on the left to All Import and select New Import. Now we have a few options here. If this was a file that I've used before with WP Alt Import, or if it's already here hosted on my WordPress site, I could click Use Existing File. If it was a file hosted somewhere else, like Dropbox or an FTP server somewhere, I could download that file directly from there into WP Alt Import. But in this case, we're going to upload a file. So directly here from my computer. So I'll select it here and we can see it's just a standard CSV, right? With the name, some customer data. You'll notice we don't have any password information in here. So we'll assume these customers came from some sort of different other software, right? So we could be importing these from, this could be an export of customers from Magento or BigCommerce or something like that. Some platform other than WordPress where we don't have the actual password data. So I'm going to select that. And this is uploading. We have around a little over 5,000 customers in here. And now we have two options, new items or existing items. We're importing new customers, so we're going to keep new items selected. If we were trying to have like a bunch of existing customers and we had a file and we're trying to merge that data into our existing customers, we'd select existing. But we're importing new ones, so we're going to select that. And then here's all the different types of data we can import. We're going to select WooCommerce Customers. And then we're going to continue to step 2. Now here in step 2, we're just kind of verifying that these are all of the columns over here. And this, we're just making sure that picked up the delimiter correctly and everything else. We have options here if we'd like to filter them. So for example, if we only wanted to import customers with the billing state of Delaware or something like that, then we could filter these in here. In this case, we're just going to import all of them. If you're more interested in the filters, or if you want to learn more about the filters, you can click the link below and check out the documentation on those. So here we have the import template for WP Alt Import. And what we're going to do is over here is basically the first row from our CSV. And these over here are all the columns. What we're going to do is we're going to match up the columns to the customer data. So I'll drag over first name. So you just click and drag, and this creates this little data tag here. So now we'll drag over their username and their email address. Now for the password, if you're moving, in this case, we're importing customers from something that's not WordPress. If we had access to the WordPress site where these customers existed and we're moving them over, instead we would be migrating those users from one WordPress install to another. And in that case, we could use WPL export, create the export file, and that would include the hashed passwords of the users. So what we can do with WPL export is we can export the hashes and then import them. And we would put the password hash here and then select that. And they would be able to, those users would be able to use their existing passwords on the site. We'd be migrating those users. That's a different video. Click here down below to watch a video on migrating users. But in this case, we don't actually have access to the passwords. So the limitation here is that once we run this import, all of our customers are going to have to reset their passwords. There's a variety of ways you can do this. There's plugins to do like bulk password resets. Or what you can do is you could just send everybody an email and say, hey, next time you want to log in, click the forgot my password button. Or they're going to figure it out. They're also going to figure it out on their own when they try and log in and their password doesn't work. And they can just use the forgot my password function built into WordPress to go reset their password based on their email address, which we're importing. But we're just going to leave the password blank and that WordPress set a random one for them. Okay, so moving on, we have our billing and shipping info. WooCommerce separates those out. And oftentimes people are going to have separate billing and shipping info. Sometimes they have just one set. So it depends on the data you're exporting, or the data you exported that you're trying to import now. In our case, we have shipping info and billing info. So what we're going to do is just drag them in. So here's the billing on the left. So I'm going to drag in the billing street and the billing city. We have our postcode. And our country, we don't have the country data here in our import file because all of these customers are from the US. So I can just write US right in here. And then this static text is going to be imported to for every person. And then we have our state and our email address, and we have a phone number here. Building phone. And we need our first name and last name. And instead of dragging and dropping, we can actually copy and paste. Because that's how these tags work. Right. Put those here as well. Now we just need to put in our shipping info. So we have our shipping street, our shipping city. Oops. That goes here. And our zip code and our country, we're going to hard code that as US. And our state, and let's just make sure I got everything right. And we're good. And that's basically it. We have some other customer info down here. The role. So this is a WordPress role. WooCommerce uses customer. One thing to keep in mind is after we run this import, just giving someone the role of customer is not going to have them show up on this list. They also have to have orders associated with them. So if you go to WooCommerce Customers after this import, we're not going to see anything until we go ahead and then run our order import also and associate our customers and those orders together. Going down here, custom fields. If we're using some sort of plugins that use custom fields to add more custom data to our WooCommerce customers, we'd have that down here. Yeah, we would just add the custom field name and then drag and drop in the value. We don't have any of those. And then finally down here, we have our function editor. So let's say we're doing something like we wanted to put in our registered date here, yeah? And so we're going to click this guy, drag it over to registered. And then we see here that this field requires a specific format. It has to be year, month, date. In our case, we're lucky. So our year-month-date is set up correctly. If it weren't, what we could do is we could write a custom function down here and then pass this data through that custom function to kind of modify that data on the fly. And this is a super powerful feature. It's pretty easy to use. And even if you don't really know how to write PHP code, on our website, here's the link down here to check out the documentation. There's some stuff you can pretty easily copy and paste to do a lot of cool stuff. We have a bunch of code snippets on the site that you can check out as well. And here's the link for that. So yeah, in this case, we're not going to use any custom PHP functions, but it's there in case you need it. And there we have our registered date. So let's just take one last look at all our import data. Template looks good. So now we're going to continue to step 4. And this is the last step here. So the first thing we want to do is set the unique identifier. And what this is basically saying is, so WPL import, it can actually look up existing data on the site to make sure it's not overwriting it. And what we want to do here is kind of tell WPL import what about this customer makes it unique from this one, right? It's not, for example, it's not the shipping state. If we did that, we'd only have, it would basically look at this and be, this is another person from Idaho. It's the same one. So instead we have to find something that's unique. Now, WPL import is kind of smart. And so we can try to auto detect and it's going to say, okay, the username is good as my unique identifier. And in that case, that's probably a pretty good one. It didn't pick first name. It didn't pick last name. It picked username. Sometimes it's going to combine some set of fields. In this case, username is perfect. So we're just going to keep the auto detected field there. And then moving down here. So now when WPL import finds new or changed data, we want it to create a new customer from records in our file. And this is what's going to happen when we rerun the import. So when we rerun the import, if we added a new file, for example, and then reran this thing, if we added new customers, import them. If we uncheck that, any new customers added to this file are not going to be created. We can select this, and then it will delete customers no longer present in the file. So if we went back and edited after we run the import, if we go back, we delete first name, if we delete this first record and run it again, now this user is going to be removed from the system. Don't really need that. We're just doing a simple import in this case. And then what it'll try and do here is it's going to try and update existing customers with any change data. So if I went back in, for example, and changed this person's register date, uploaded the new version of the file and reran the import, it would change that. And you can get really granular about exactly which data it should update or not. In this case, I don't really care because we're not going to be running this file again. So down here, you have email notifications for imported users and imported customers in this case. So in WordPress, whenever you create a new user, regardless of how you do it, if you go here as an admin and manually add a new user, if you import a bunch of users, or if a new user just creates a customer account on your site, they're going to get an email notification. Here in WPL import, we probably don't want to do that. We probably don't want to email 5,000 people right now as we're running this import, especially if we make a mistake and have to run it again. So what we'll do is we're going to block the email notifications during import. There are some plugins that we've run across that will kind of interfere with that, and like email management plugins and stuff like that, that will kind of get in the way and send those emails anyway. So double check what plugins you're using and maybe disable some of them that are related to sending emails, or maybe run some tests or something before doing this in production, just to make sure, because it can be pretty frustrating if you accidentally email all these people a bunch of times. So then down here, we have our scheduling options. This is not available in this case because I've manually uploaded the file. If I was importing this from a URL, like if my CSV was hosted somewhere else in Dropbox or on some other system or something like that, and then I might want to schedule this import to run, like for example, every morning, and pull in that new data that's been added. But in this case, we're not doing that. And then finally down here, we have our advanced settings. If we want to import only specified records, so if we just wanted to import the first 10 to run a test, we could do something like this. So if you're running a test, probably a good idea. That's just going to quickly import the first 10, and then you can check, or, you can import however many you want, or just one. And you can see the syntax there. In any case, we're going to leave that disabled. We're just going to run the full import. So we'll close that, and we're going to continue, and then just review some stuff. Everything looks good. And we're going to confirm and run the import. Now, these imports are generally going to run pretty quickly because we're not importing a ton of data per user. Things like images are going to take a long time because your server has to contact another server, download and process an image. If you have a ton of plugins, it's going to really slow things down. But in this case, it's going to go pretty quick. And I'm just going to let this run, and we'll come back when it's finished. Okay, and we're done. So that took about 10 minutes. And so yeah, let's check it out. So like I said, so if we go over here to customers, nothing's going to show up, right? Because these customers don't have orders associated with them. So, but we can verify that they're all here. Okay, and here's all of our imported users. And you can see we have them all imported correctly. And then if we were to go over here to create an order, let's go ahead and add one, and we'll see Ashlyn pulls up there as a customer. So we can, obviously we're not going to manually add all of our orders. Click down below and you can watch a video on how to import orders and associate them with the customers that we've just imported. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you soon.